YouTube. This video will be a start of a new series of videos, probably a new playlist as well, where I'm going to be testing the inherent accuracy of some of the builds that I've made, as well as some of the other guns that I have. And then potentially I'll open this up to other people that want to test the accuracy of their guns and the ones that I don't have. What I got was a Ransom Rest. Unlike what you can buy from Brownells and Midway, this is a combo rest, which means that you don't get a rest separate from the windage base. Basically, the combo rest comes as one piece with the windage base and then the actual base of the rest. So I got this with these wood screws because sometimes people would basically buy the rest and then build their own base, but I also got the base plate that's steel, and it weighs about 30 pounds, and it's adjustable for leveling. And these screws are going to be the mount points essentially, or points that I will attach the base plate to the bench using these C-clamps. The base plate comes with these other screws, 1032 screws, and right now what I'm going to do is attach the bottom of my Ransom Rest combo to the base plate. This bottom didn't come with the holes countersunk, but because these screws are countersinking screws, I decided to countersink the holes so that I can get more of the thread engagement into the base plate. So basically get the screw lower. So that's the only modification I've made. And here's what I wanted to show you. On this base plate, there's a level bubble, so you'll be able to basically adjust, make your base plate level on the bench so that everything is set up basically correctly. But at this point, we're just going to attach the base plate. And then we're going to take our Ransom Rest and carefully lower it. The way the windage base works is these knobs adjust off of these screws. So if I loosen this one and start tightening this one, my windage base is going to start moving to left and right. The Allen wrench that is given with the combo rest is for the trigger finger adjustment, so we can position it correctly for whatever gun is being used. Now the very last thing we're going to do before going out to the range for the first time is to make sure that the inserts, these grip inserts that are sold by the same company, Ransom International, that the inserts I'm going to use for my 1911 are going to fit my 1911. You can see how it's made. It's actually made for the government model. No bump on the grip safety and arched mainspring housing. So I want to see how well it's going to fit my gun. Obviously you can see that it's meant to be used without grips on the gun. So we're going to take those off first. Seems like it should hold pretty well. So as you can see, now it fits much better. There's nothing pushing the grip insert away from the gun. Just made a little notch. I'm just using a razor blade. So this is at Angeles range, and I am setting up on one of the concrete rifle benches on the side, pistol side, with rifle range going out to 100 yards basically. So I've already set up my target at 50 or probably closer to 46 yards, and you see I'm just attaching my base plate to the bench. It's a nice concrete bench. I've measured the thickness of the bench before, so I knew to get 8-inch C-clamps. And right now I was basically just taking rough aim with just the plate, I guess the side plate of the rest, making sure that I'm roughly aiming at my target. So now I'm going to put my pistol into the grip inserts and into the rest. Now that the gun was in the rest, I needed to adjust the trigger control lever, making sure that it touches the trigger in the right spot, kind of close to the middle, and wanted to make sure that it was consistently able to pull the trigger and also allow the trigger to reset. The next step was to adjust the elevation and windage and make sure that the pistol is actually aiming at the center of the target, which I am doing right here. Here comes the very first shot. I only loaded one round into the magazine, and this is the very first shot I'm going to take using the Ransom Rest and this pistol. I was actually kind of lucky that a very nice range officer was nearby, and he actually brought over a spotting scope to help me identify where my rounds were hitting on the target. Now that the first round seemed like it was a success, I decided to load a few more rounds into the magazine. I'm not sure if it was 5 or 8 in this magazine, and I've decided to shoot all of them in a string. And the one thing I noticed is, and I think I've seen this in a video or on forums, where people are describing that proper tightening of the ABC knobs that you see me touching can affect the accuracy result or grouping that the gun produces. So here I was, as I was shooting, I was checking the knobs, making sure that if they felt looser than before, I would tighten them a little bit more, making sure that as the gun settles into the insert, that the insert would be hugging it, I guess, even more, and there would be no slop, basically. As I was shooting, the range officer that decided to help me out was watching through the spotting scope and noticed that I was shooting very high. So he told me that. I started checking, and indeed my gun shifted in the grip insert as I assume it was settling into the insert. So it was shooting over the target, and I had to adjust my elevation to point the pistol back at the target. Once the necessary adjustments were made and the pistol started pointing back at the center of the top target that you will see in a few moments, I continued to shoot, and I was still using, at that point, I was still using S&B ammo, or Cellier and below, I guess. I guess that's how you pronounce it. So I was using that ammo, 230 grain regular factory ammo, and I was actually getting really wide groups. I guess about 6 inches, maybe even 7 inches. It seemed to be going and printing very widely, basically. Here's my target at 50 yards, or I guess 46, I don't know, I measured in steps. So you can see that my group is printing high and above the stick-on targets. This is where I was still using S&B, and I actually figured out where to aim to place my impact on paper. So now take a look at this group, bottom paper. That is done with Federal Gold Medal Match ammo, 185 grain semi-wad cutter bullet. And of course, almost immediately, I started experimenting by trying to pull the trigger differently. And I started to notice that perhaps that's the reason why people say that the same person should be operating the Ransom Rest. Here you can see another group, top target, now that I know exactly where to aim. That group is about 2.5 inches or so. Here's another group coming on the bottom. And you can see it's basically going to come out about the same, about 2.5 inches. I don't think I got close to 3 inches, but you can tell me. I mean, those squares, the small grid basically is 1 inch, 1 inch grid. So this is where I decided to kind of investigate and learn a little bit more about the Ransom Rest. I've seen on forums and in videos where people said that the pistol has to be held correctly via those ABC knobs that hold the grip insert together. Basically, I started to untighten them and tried tightening them individually, one at a time, more or less, so on and so forth. And you can kind of see the effect it had on my grouping, which became horrible, even using that good ammo, right? So I guess it's true that I can see how, but possibly with each pistol, you would need to have correct ABC adjustment, basically, for that grip insert. Here's where I'm shooting at the bottom target again, bottom right corner of the bottom target. Take a look at this group. This is 5 shots, or five rounds in one magazine, and then 5 rounds in another magazine. So this is the first 5 rounds, and then you'll see another 5 rounds once I reload. And that was after I've made all the correct adjustments to ABC knobs, and also was paying careful attention to the trigger control lever. And it seems like the group is back to about 2.5, I don't know, maybe closer to 3 inches, but definitely a much better group. It would have been much better if I could confirm my findings with a one of the 1.5 inch guarantee guns, so I can shoot it at the same time and see how well it does.